Blood is thicker than water, but it turns out betrayal is thicker than both. I spent 6 months branded a homewrecker by my own family, exiled from my sister's perfect wedding. But I didn't stay home and cry. I gathered receipts. And when the wedding bells rang, I brought the fireworks. If you looked up Golden Child in the dictionary, you'd find a picture of my younger sister, Jessica Harrison. From the moment she was born, my parents, Thomas and Brenda, treated her like a fragile piece of porcelain that also happened to exude sunshine. I, Chloe, was the reliable older sister, the pragmatic one, the one who got decent grades, paid her own way through college, and secured a quiet, stable job as a forensic accountant at a firm downtown. Jessica, on the other hand, coasted through life on a lethal combination of blonde hair, practiced pouty lips, and an uncanny ability to manipulate every situation to her advantage. Despite our differences, I tried to be a good sister. When she introduced us to her new boyfriend, Liam Donovan, I was genuinely happy for her. Liam was a catch. He was kind, fiercely loyal, and ran a highly successful commercial real estate development company. He had money, but he didn't flaunt it. He looked at Jessica like she hung the moon, completely blind to the calculating machinery whirring behind her pretty blue eyes. Their courtship was a whirlwind of expensive vacations, designer gifts, and sickeningly sweet Instagram posts. When Liam proposed with a 3-carat oval diamond in Paris, my parents practically threw a parade. I was immediately designated as the maid of honor, not out of sisterly love, but because Jessica needed someone highly organized to manage her 6-figure wedding budget and wrangle her 8 bridesmaids. For months, I poured my soul into making her dream wedding a reality. I negotiated with the snooty event coordinators at the Oak Haven Country Club. I dealt with the catastrophic dress fittings at Boutique L'Amour. I was the perfect, supportive sister. Then came the Sunday dinner that shattered my life. It was a brisk October evening, 6 months before the wedding. My parents were hosting our traditional family roast. Liam was out of town on a business trip in Chicago, so it was just my parents, Jessica, and me. We were sitting around the mahogany dining table, passing the potatoes, when Jessica suddenly dropped her fork. It clattered against the fine china, a sharp, violent sound. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered, her voice trembling. My mother immediately leaned forward, her face etched with panic. "Jessie, sweetheart, what is it? What's wrong?" Jessica looked up, tears streaming down her face, the perfect, silent, glistening tears she had perfected in high school drama club. She pointed a manicured finger directly at me across the table. "How could you?" she choked out. "My own sister." I froze, a piece of roast chicken halfway to my mouth. "What are you talking about?" Jessica aggressively slammed her iPhone onto the table and pushed it toward my father. "Look at it, Dad. Look at what your older daughter has been doing behind my back." My father picked up the phone, adjusting his reading glasses. His face went from confused to pale, and finally to a deep, terrifying shade of crimson. He looked at me with an expression of absolute disgust that I will never, ever forget. "You make me sick, Chloe," he growled, slamming his fist on the table. "Dad, what is it?" I pleaded, standing up. "What's on the phone?" My mother snatched the device from him. As she read, she gasped, covering her mouth. "Chloe, you've been sleeping with Liam?" The room spun. "What? No, of course not. I barely speak to Liam unless it's about the wedding." Jessica let out a dramatic, gut-wrenching sob. "Don't lie to us. The texts are right there. You've been sneaking over to his penthouse when I'm at my Pilates classes. You've been sending him pictures, telling him you'd be a better wife than me." I lunged across the table and grabbed the phone. Sure enough, there was a WhatsApp conversation open. The contact name was Chloe, complete with a photo of me from my own Facebook profile. The messages were explicit, horrific, and undeniable. "I can't wait until you finally leave her," one message read. "Last night was incredible," read another. "Jessica, this isn't my number," I yelled, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Anyone can make a fake profile and put my picture on it. Look at the phone number, it's not mine." Liam confessed everything. Jessica screamed, standing up so fast her chair tipped over. "He called me in tears from Chicago. He said you threw yourself at him, that you threatened to ruin the wedding if he didn't sleep with you. He blocked you this morning. He's lying, or you're lying. I was hyperventilating now. Call him. Let me talk to him right now. You will not speak to him, my father roared, stepping between us. You have done enough damage. Get out of my house, Chloe. Get out and don't come back. Mom, please, I begged, turning to the woman who birthed me. You know me. I would never do this. My mother couldn't even look at me. Give me your house key, Chloe, and consider yourself removed from the bridal party. I don't know how we raised a homewrecker. I was forced out into the cold night with nothing but my purse and a shattered reality. By the next morning, the poison had spread. My phone blew up with vicious texts from my aunts, uncles, and cousins. Aunt Beatrice called me a jealous, spinster harlot in a family group chat before booting me from it. I tried calling Liam over and over, but it went straight to voicemail. He had blocked me on everything: iMessage, Instagram, LinkedIn. I was completely, utterly alone. Convicted without a trial, exiled from my own bloodline because my sister cried a few crocodile tears. But as the shock wore off over the next few weeks, the grief morphed into a cold, hard anger. I am an auditor. My entire career is built on finding the truth hidden in the numbers, in the discrepancies, in the things people try to bury. And something about Jessica's story felt deeply, fundamentally wrong. For a month, I drowned in a sea of depression and cheap takeout, watching my family celebrate my sister from the agonizing distance of social media. They threw her a lavish support shower to make up for the trauma I had supposedly caused her. I saw pictures of Liam looking slightly haggard, clinging to Jessica as if she were his anchor, unaware that she was the one sinking his ship. Why did Jessica do it? That was the question that kept me awake at 3:00 a.m. Jessica was vain and selfish. Yes, but she wasn't chaotic. She only made moves when there was something to gain or something to hide. I needed a thread to pull. I started by looking back at the engagement party, held 3 months prior at the Starlight Room downtown. I opened my laptop and started scrolling through the hundreds of raw, unedited photos I had taken that night on my DSLR camera. I zoomed in on the backgrounds, ignoring the posed shots. There it was. In the blurred background of a photo where my parents were toasting, Jessica was standing in a shadowed corner of the terrace. She wasn't with Liam. She was standing uncomfortably close to Ryan Caldwell. Ryan was Liam's best man. They had been fraternity brothers in college. Ryan was a charming, smooth-talking guy who always wore suits that looked slightly too expensive for his actual income. He ran a logistics startup called Caldwell Logistics that was perpetually just about to take off. In the photo, Ryan's hand was resting firmly on the small of Jessica's back, his thumb hooked intimately into the fabric of her dress. Jessica was looking up at him, biting her lip. It wasn't friendly, it was predatory. My pulse quickened. I needed more than a blurry photo. I needed digital proof. That's when I remembered the old family Mac Mini sitting in the back of my closet. Years ago, before Jessica got her own MacBook, we used to share it for high school projects. Jessica was notorious for never logging out of her accounts. It was a long shot, a desperate Hail Mary. I dragged the dusty computer out, plugged it in, and waited an agonizing 5 minutes for it to boot up. I clicked on the Messages app. A prompt popped up asking for the Apple ID password to resync. I stared at the screen. I knew her old password. It was her childhood dog's name and her birth year, Princess1998. I typed it in. Error. Password incorrect. I gritted my teeth. What would she change it to? She was obsessed with Liam's money. Liam is mine? No. Future Mrs. Donovan? I typed it in. Future Mrs. Donovan won. The loading wheel spun. And spun, syncing messages with iCloud. Suddenly, the screen populated with blue and gray bubbles. My heart stopped. The most recent messages were right there, flooding in from her current iPhone. I felt a wave of guilt about invading her privacy, but it evaporated. The second I saw a thread with a contact named Nail Salon, do not call. I clicked on it. The messages weren't about acrylics. Nail Salon, did you get the transfer done? The bank is breathing down my neck about the warehouse lease. Jessica, relax, Rye. I talked to Liam last night. Told him your startup just needed a bridge loan for Q3. He wired $50,000 this morning. He's so easy to handle. Nail Salon, you're an angel. God, I can't wait to get you out of that stuffy country club life. Jessica, Just 6 more months. Once we're married, I have access to the joint offshore accounts. Then we make our move. Missing you in my bed right now. I sat back in my chair, the air knocked out of my lungs. Ryan. Nail salon was Ryan Caldwell. Jessica wasn't just having an affair with her fiancé's best man. They were embezzling from Liam. They were using Liam's blind trust to funnel tens of thousands of dollars into Ryan's failing shell company, with plans to drain his offshore accounts after the wedding and run off together. I kept scrolling back, reading months of sordid details, hotel rendezvous, and calculated financial manipulation. And then I found the smoking gun, the real reason she threw me under the bus. A message thread between Jessica and Ryan from the Saturday night before the explosive Sunday dinner. Jessica. Emergency. Liam was asking about the accounting for the wedding budget today. He noticed the $15K I siphoned to you last month under floral arrangements. He said he might ask Chloe to audit the wedding spreadsheet just to make sure the vendors aren't overcharging. Nail salon. Shit. Chloe is a bloodhound. If she looks at those numbers, we are dead. We go to jail, Jess. Jessica. I know. I'll handle it. I need to get Chloe out of the picture permanently. And I need Liam to hate her so much he never speaks to her again. I bought a burner phone today. I'm going to set her up. The sheer malice of it made my blood run cold. She had ruined my reputation, destroyed my relationship with my parents, and branded me a slut, all to cover up her felony fraud. She used me as a human shield. Over the next 2 weeks, I didn't sleep. I operated with the cold, surgical precision of a woman with nothing left to lose. I exported every single message, pulling the metadata to prove they were authentic. I pulled public business records for Caldwell Logistics, showing the company was essentially bankrupt, save for the sudden influx of cash traced back to Liam's holding company. I printed everything: photographs, texts, wire transfer receipts. I bought a sleek silver 64 gigabyte flash drive. I loaded a carefully curated PowerPoint presentation onto it. The file was simply named, "To the Happy Couple." The wedding was fast approaching. It was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon at the Oak Haven Country Club, with a lavish reception to follow in the grand ballroom. 200 guests, the elite of the city's real estate and social circles. I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding, but I had my own dress ready. A stunning, deep crimson gown. The color of revenge. I was going to crash the wedding of the century, and I was going to burn Jessica's house of cards straight to the ground. History is littered with the ruins of leaders who believed the rules no longer applied to them. My sister was about to learn this the hard way. Jessica honestly believed she had committed the perfect crime, silencing her only threat by burning my life to the ground. She was so blinded by her own arrogance, so convinced of her untouchable status as the blushing bride, that she never bothered to cover her tracks. The morning of the wedding was a crisp, cloudless Saturday. While Jessica was undoubtedly sipping mimosas in the bridal suite with her 7 remaining bridesmaids, I was sitting in my sedan in the employee parking lot of the Oak Haven Country Club, reviewing my battle plan. I didn't need an invitation to get inside. I had spent 6 months planning this exact event down to the smallest detail. I knew the security rotations, I knew which service doors were left propped open by the catering staff, and most importantly, I knew the vendors. I slipped through the kitchen loading dock, wearing a discreet black trench coat over my crimson dress. The kitchen was a war zone of flying pastry chefs and stressed sous chefs. Nobody looked twice at a woman walking with terrifying purpose and carrying a clipboard. I bypassed the main corridors and headed straight for the grand ballroom's audiovisual control booth, hidden on a raised mezzanine above the dance floor. Waiting for me there was Colin Jenkins, the lead AV technician. Colin was a sharp-witted guy in his late 20s who I had personally hired for the event. During the planning phase, I had tipped him generously and treated him like a human being. Something Jessica, who regularly snapped her fingers at the help, had spectacularly failed to do. "Chloe," Colin whispered, his eyes widening as I stepped into the dim booth. "I heard what happened. They told me you were banned from the premises." "They told you a lot of things, Colin," I said, my voice steady. I reached into my bag and pulled out the sleek silver flash drive, placing it gently on his control console next to the lighting rig. Beside it, I placed an envelope containing 5 crisp $100 bills. "I need a favor. Colin looked at the money, then at me. I can't play an unsanctioned video, Chloe. Manager Gregory Smith will have my head. I'll lose my job. I pulled a single sheet of paper from my coat pocket, a printout of Jessica's texts, calling Colin a clueless, overpriced button pusher and complaining about his fee. I laid it on top of the envelope. She thinks you're a joke, Colin, I said quietly. And what's on this drive isn't just a prank. It's proof that she and Ryan Caldwell are embezzling thousands of dollars from the groom. If you play this, you aren't ruining a wedding. You're saving a good man from throwing his life away. Colin picked up the printout, his jaw tightening as he read my sister's cruel words. He looked down at the ballroom floor, where the tables were perfectly set with crystal and white roses. He took a deep breath, picked up the flash drive, and plugged it directly into the master laptop. He pushed the envelope of money back toward me. "Keep the cash," Colin muttered. His eyes locked on the screen as he loaded my PowerPoint file into the presentation queue. "Just tell me when to hit play." "Wait for the best man's speech," I instructed, slipping out of the trench coat to reveal the striking crimson gown. "I want Ryan on the microphone when it happens." I spent the next 3 hours waiting in the shadows of the mezzanine. I listened to the muffled cheers as the ceremony concluded out on the great lawn. I watched as the 200 guests filed into the ballroom, taking their seats. I watched my parents, Thomas and Brenda, beaming with pride, completely oblivious to the venomous snake they were parading around in white lace. And then, the newlyweds made their grand entrance. Liam looked dashing in his custom tuxedo, smiling brightly, though there was a tiredness around his eyes. Jessica was a vision in a $20,000 designer gown, waving to the crowd, soaking in the adoration like a sponge. Right behind them was Ryan Caldwell, the best man, smirking and raising a glass of champagne to the room. The dinner service came and went. The clinking of glasses signaled the start of the speeches. My father spoke first, giving a tearful tribute to his perfect, blameless little girl. I felt a physical pang in my chest, a final flicker of grief for the family I had lost, before the cold resolve washed it away. Then, Ryan Caldwell stood up. He walked to the center of the dance floor, microphone in hand, exuding an oily, practiced charisma. "We are all here today to celebrate true love," Ryan began, his voice echoing through the massive speakers. "Liam, you've been my brother since our college days, and Jessica. Well, Jessica is something else entirely. She is beautiful, brilliant, and fiercely loyal. Liam, you are a lucky, lucky man." From the booth, I gave Colin the signal. "Hit it," I commanded. Colin pressed the space bar. The massive drop-down projector screen behind the head table, originally meant for a sappy photo montage of the couple's childhoods, unrolled from the ceiling with a mechanical whir. The lights in the ballroom automatically dimmed. The first slide illuminated the dark room. It wasn't a baby picture. It was a massive, high-definition screenshot of a wire transfer receipt from Liam's holding company to Caldwell Logistics for $50,000. The ballroom went dead silent. Ryan stopped mid-sentence, turning around to look at the screen. He froze, the microphone dropping a few inches from his mouth. At the head table, Liam squinted at the giant projection. "Ryan, what is that?" he asked, his voice carrying in the quiet room. Before Ryan could answer, the slideshow automatically advanced to the next slide. It was a blown-up screenshot of the text messages between Nail Salon and Jessica. "Jessica, did you get the transfer done? The bank is breathing down my neck." Nail Salon, "You're an angel. I can't wait to get you out of that stuffy country club life." Jessica, "Just 6 more months. Then we make our move. Missing you in my bed right now." A collective, horrified gasp rippled through the 200 guests. My mother dropped her champagne flute. The glass shattered loudly against the hardwood floor. "Turn it off!" Jessica shrieked, her perfect facade crumbling instantly. She clawed at Liam's arm. "Liam, it's fake! It's a deep fake! Turn the projector off!" But the slides kept coming. Slide 3. The photo of Ryan and Jessica at the engagement party, his hand resting intimately on her lower back, zoomed in to highlight the predatory body language. Slide 4. The text conversation detailing exactly how they planned to frame me to keep me from auditing the wedding budget. "Turn it off," my father roared, standing up and pointing a trembling finger toward the AV booth. I stepped out from the shadows of the mezzanine and leaned against the glass railing, perfectly illuminated by the booth's ambient light in my crimson dress. "I don't think we will, Dad," I called out, my voice ringing clear across the stunned ballroom. "I think Liam deserves to see exactly what he's paying for." Every eye in the room snapped up to me. "Chloe?" Liam gasped, his face draining of all color as he looked between me, the screen, and his weeping bride. He wasn't stupid. He was a ruthless businessman who had been temporarily blinded by love. As the final pieces clicked into place, the blinding spell broke. He looked down at Jessica, his expression shifting from confusion to absolute terrifying ice. "Liam, please, she's crazy. She fabricated all of this because she's obsessed with you." Jessica sobbed, dropping to her knees in her massive white dress, clinging to his tuxedo pants. Liam ignored her. He turned slowly to his best man. Ryan had backed away, sweating profusely, looking desperately toward the exit doors. $50,000, Ryan?" Liam asked softly, dangerously. "Under a bridge loan for Q3? Liam?" "Buddy, let me explain," Ryan started, raising his hands defensively. Liam didn't let him finish. He lunged forward, grabbing Ryan by the lapels of his rented tuxedo, and slammed him hard against a beautifully decorated structural pillar. "You slept in my guest room. You ate at my table. You stole from my accounts, and you touched my fiancé." Chaos erupted. Groomsmen rushed forward to pull Liam off Ryan. Guests were screaming, whispering, pulling out their phones to record the meltdown of the decade. My mother was hyperventilating, being fanned by her sister, Aunt Beatrice, the same aunt who had called me a harlot. "Somebody call the police!" Manager Gregory Smith yelled, running into the room with a walkie-talkie. "I already did, Gregory," I shouted from the balcony. 15 minutes ago." Right on cue, the heavy mahogany doors of the grand ballroom swung open. Detective Miller, an investigator from the city's financial crimes unit, whom I had personally contacted the week prior with my dossier of evidence, strode in flanked by 3 uniformed officers. "Ryan Caldwell?" Detective Miller called out over the shouting. Ryan, nursing a bleeding lip from Liam's fist, froze. "Yes?" "You're under arrest for suspicion of wire fraud and grand larceny," the detective stated, pulling out handcuffs. "Jessica Harrison, we're going to need you to come down to the precinct for questioning regarding embezzlement of funds from Donovan Holdings." The sheer, unadulterated humiliation on my sister's face as she was read her rights in front of the city's elite, wearing a $20,000 wedding gown, was a masterpiece that no museum could ever afford. She wailed, mascara running down her face in ugly black rivers, screaming for our father to do something. But Thomas just stood there, shell-shocked, finally realizing that his golden child was entirely made of fool's gold. The fallout was biblical. Hard karma doesn't just hit, it decimates. Liam officially called off the wedding on the spot. Within 48 hours, his corporate lawyers had successfully frozen Ryan's startup accounts and Jessica's personal bank accounts. Ryan's business, already running on fumes, was raided by federal agents and shut down permanently. He is currently awaiting trial, facing up to 10 years in a federal penitentiary. Jessica didn't fare much better. Because she used Liam's personal trust to authorize the transfers, she was slapped with multiple felony charges. Her shiny reputation was obliterated. Her bridesmaids abandoned her. Without Liam's money, she couldn't afford a high-powered defense attorney, forcing my parents to drain their retirement savings to keep her out of a jail cell. She currently works the closing shift at a local diner, wearing an ankle monitor while she awaits her plea hearing. 2 weeks after the non-wedding, I was packing up my apartment to move across the city. There was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Liam standing there, looking exhausted, holding a thick manila envelope. "I pulled the forensic audit," Liam said quietly. "You were right about everything. They siphoned almost $100,000 in total over 8 months. The police managed to recover most of it." "I'm glad," I said, leaning against the door frame. Liam looked down at his shoes. "Chloe, I don't know how to apologize. I believed her. I let her destroy your name. I should have listened to you. I should have known you would never do what she accused you of." "You were manipulated, Liam," I replied softly but firmly. "But you also chose to condemn me without a single question. I forgive you, because holding on to the anger is exhausting. But we can't be friends after this. It's too broken. He nodded slowly, understanding the boundary I had set. He handed me the envelope. For your trouble, a consulting fee for the audit you effectively performed on my life. It's the least I can do. He walked away, and I didn't stop him. When I opened the envelope, there was a certified cashier's check for $25,000. It was a down payment on my new life. A few days later, my father tried to call me. He left a weeping voicemail, begging for my forgiveness, saying they had been totally fooled and wanted their sensible daughter back in their lives. I didn't call back. I simply blocked the number. They had made their choice at that Sunday dinner, and I was making mine now. Truth always finds a way to crawl out of the darkest, hidden shadows. My family shattered, but from those sharp, broken pieces, I built a life defined by my own strength, completely free from their toxic loyalties. Jessica learned that deceit carries a very heavy, inescapable price. Sometimes, truly beautiful weddings are the ones that never actually happen, saving you from a long lifetime chained to a beautifully dressed lie. Family betrayal leaves the deepest scars, but it also teaches the hardest lessons. I learned that my value is not defined by those who share my blood, but by my resilience. I walked away from the ashes of their lies and built a new life of absolute truth. Have you ever faced an unbelievable family betrayal? Like, share, and subscribe for more shocking, true stories of hard karma hitting back.